All right, guys, welcome to the session with Terry Moore. Terry has been in the business for over 30 years, and interesting fact, he is the only broker in San Diego to win the Triple Crown of investment brokerage. And what that is that he won the Deal Maker of the Year, he won the Transaction of the Year, and also the CCIM Designee of the Year. And along with residential and normal real estate, Terry also has a specialty in apartment brokerage. I believe, Terry, you've closed over 300 investment property deals throughout your career. Is that right?
But we're now past 400, and you probably won't count my mother's recommendation, but I've got a fourth and a fifth resignation or recognition in the last few months. So I don't know what Triple Crown I came up with. I don't know what I say about the pentathlon. I'll have to make up something, but after 20 years in the business, I'm finally an overnight success. So yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the call, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer some of our questions and share with the community. So thank you for being here.
Sure.
What I want to do is just, because we're limited on time here, is I'd love to jump in real quickly and begin with just a brief backstory to give context to everybody who's listening, because we have a wide variety of types of agents listening here on the summit. Just give a little bit of brief backstory of, did you go straight into real estate out of university, or did you work through some other careers and then kind of found your way into real estate?
Had an MBA, worked for the world's biggest bank, worked for one of my clients doing corporate acquisitions, finance, corporate planning, bought a little mom and pop hardware store in the Midwest. Let's see, I think that was from my mom, and I think that was from my pop. And then after 6 years, I figured out there was no ocean in that state, and we decided to move back to San Diego. And after one of my bosses paid me for a year to learn about income property, I said, I don't know anything. He said, yeah, but I can trust you, and you're a quick study. And I helped him make a smart choice. And I had two paths and ended up doing income property brokerage. Got a CCIM and have done a lot of business across the kitchen table. These days, my clients are not Warren Buffett. It's not Bill Gates. It's your history teacher. I do a lot of business with folks. They're old-fashioned. They got married and they got pregnant. Well, maybe they got pregnant and they got married. But anyway,
one or the other.
Some kids, and then after a while they had more kids in bedroom, and then after a while they said, let's not sell any of the kids, let's not give them away, let's not kill them, let's get a bigger house. And one of them said, let's not sell the house, let's rent it out. The rent house later became a duplex, later became a fourplex, and now they own 20 or more units. They are the richest person in their census tract, and their neighbors don't know it, and they're my clients. I deal with your CPA, your doctor, your optometrist, the landscape guy who runs the company, the guy who's got the Chinese restaurant, the guy who's got the third biggest manufacturing in your zip code. Those are my clients. They all have a day job, and their part-time investment is real estate. And I sell ordinary apartment buildings in San Diego, and I'm deeply grateful for every one that I sell.
Gotcha. I love that. Let me ask you this, Terry. Let's say I'm a real estate agent who's been in the business for, say, 1 to 2 years. And let's say that I'm doing maybe 15 to 20 deals a year. And let's say that I want to really get into the investment side of things and also be an investment broker and work with investors. What would your advice be for somebody in terms of the difference between working with investors versus working with people who are buying a home or selling a home as a residential home?
If you have the illusion that investment has no emotion, that's wrong. Investment real estate is more difficult than residential. Investment agents want you to believe that you need to be smarter and tougher, and there might be a little bit to that. If you're good with people and good with numbers, that's okay. But the challenge with income property is it's telemarketing.
Really?
You don't meet people at the Kiwanis. You don't meet people at the grocery store. The people who get into my business, they make 4,000 dials to people who've never heard of them and say, you don't know me, but let me buy or sell your building. And they get turned down 99% of the time. So you can go to your network, your cousin's best friend, your aunt's next door neighbor, and you can sell their 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's really hard to find the eagles that own apartment buildings. They don't cluster. You find them one at a time.
Right.
It's a difficult niche, but if you are good with people and you're patient enough and you make enough connections, you can make it work. But it's very difficult to break in. Because guess what? You're competing against not the best Century 21 agent. You're competing against the toughest income property brokers, who, by the way, they had 20 years in business before you got your license. So welcome to the game, you're behind.
Right.
Tough niche to break in.
So coming into that kind of landscape, let's say that I hired you to be my coach, right? Or I was paying you to mentor me in a different market to do what you had done or duplicate what you had started doing, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. What was your formula then for winning in that sort of a landscape? Because I would imagine it's even more competitive and tougher nowadays. So what was your formula for winning? Like, how did you break through? What was your magic? Or what did you play to? What did you focus on to say, hey, here's my disadvantages, but I'm not going to let that stop me?
I was in the national instructor cadre for CCIM, Certified Commercial Investment member. And the first 2-day course essentially says, pick a niche, become the expert, tell the client that you are the expert. So you pick an expert and you pick a niche and you forsake all others. You don't sell. Okay. If you're in a suburb of Des Moines, if you're in a suburb of San Antonio, maybe you can do 2 things at once. But if you're going to do income property brokerage, that needs to be your marriage. That needs to be what you're doing. You can't do 2 things at once. And in the investment side, 85% of the brokerage income is leasing. So when you go through industrial park, or you go to a shopping center, you go to an office building, you see a sign that says available, Joe Schmaltz, Sally Smith. And when you see Sally's sign, it doesn't mean the building's for sale. It means she's got something available for lease. And she's got 42 signs all over the place, and 7 of her buildings have vacancies. 85% of the income on the investment side is leasing. So if you do leasing, then you contact the owners of the building and you try to get them to hire you. You get a leasing listing on their building, and then you go court the business people who need to move their space into the industrial facility or the office building or the retail shopping center. So it's a slightly different niche and a little bit more polished. You don't leave American flags out in the neighborhood to get these kind of tenants.
Right.
You cold call them, you knock on their doors, and guess what? Your competition's been there 20 years ahead of you. 15% of the business is selling the buildings, and it's a similar kind of thing. The hard part is getting the listings. The easy part is finding the buyers. I have 100 buyers that have contacted me in the last year that I will not call again. But I am actively cold calling sellers, trying to get them to list with me.
Gotcha. Okay. What is something from your perspective, maybe and I'm not trying to get you to give away your secret sauce or anything like that, besides, and it sounds like you're saying that you got to just get good at the basics as well. But is there anything that an age that you would give to your peers or to agents listening to this today as advice for going above and beyond, above what the most of the competition is doing? So let's say the baseline for what most competition is trying to do to get new businesses here. What's something that you think could help an agent really raise their bar or stand out from the crowd, I should say, in terms of getting an investor to pay attention to them, right? Like, what have you learned in the last 20 years where, like, even if you call me and I pick up the phone and you know that I'm a property owner and an investor, what's some significant way that you can stand out from the rest of the people calling me?
I wish I was great at cold calling. Andrew, I've never lied to you before, so I'm so insecure. I don't want to tell you this, but it's the truth. I'm so insecure that I was in the business 20 years before I started cold calling.
Okay.
There are harder ways to do it than what I did. You don't want to imitate what I did, but I was so insecure. I gave seminars and wrote articles and sent out postcards because I was chicken to call people. I was that shallow, that stupid. I'm the only guy in the industry I know who did it that way. The traditional thing is you get on the phone and you dial 4,000 people, you don't know them, and you try to be charming and winsome, and you have something of value to offer them and ask them open-ended questions. That's the piece of the business I'm trying to learn now. But I have a big enough book of business that most of my business is referral. But I'm the fluke. I don't know anybody else who made it past a year who didn't dial 4,000 people who didn't know them.
4,000 people in 1 year was the formula.
Well, there's some people who try to dial 400 people in a day, but I think 4,000 people in a year that's good enough.
Got it. I'm just taking notes on all this and actively listening. So,
and by the way, in our arena, in my niche, there's 10,500 buildings that I would love to sell. They're owned by about 6,500 people who don't have a real estate license. I've got, after 20 years, I have about 2,500 phone numbers.
Interesting. Wow.
And I've gone to trade shows, and I've advertised, and I have articles, and I pay $100,000 a year for marketing. And I don't have phone numbers, emails for most of the people that I've been reaching out to for 20 years.
Really? Well, sorry, just that bogs my mind. Where does $100K a year in marketing go? You seem like a guy who's probably measuring results, right? So you keep spending it, but where does it go?
I've got a website. Every time I get a listing, on average, I spend $5,000 per listing.
Okay.
So it's actually probably past $100,000, but I do LoopNet, I do drone videos, I do postcards. I tried to get the guy on the corner with the sign.
Gotcha.
I couldn't afford him, and I don't have billboards, but I do a lot of direct contact with the owners, and I dial some of them, I send them first-class mail. I'm still thinking about getting the guy in the corner with the sign. You know,
Right. Just full contact sport. So when you say $100,000 a year in marketing, you're not talking about just prospecting type marketing or attraction marketing for clients. You're also talking about marketing the very buildings that you have as listings.
Right. Yeah. I will spend. I'll send out over 100,000 postcards this year to 6,600 owners.
Wow, those are some strong numbers. But you clearly know your numbers.
I'm a guy who recycles coffee grounds. I'm a guy who recycles paper through my printer, and I've sent 1 million pieces of junk mail out. So I'm kind of conflicted. I've sent some pieces out where I've gotten no response, and if I get 15 responses out of 6,600 postcards, that's orgastic delight. That's just as good as it gets.
Really? Okay.
But when
you're also sending them a lot more sophisticated, a much more sophisticated caliber of person than just a homeowner, right?
Yeah. Essentially, when somebody gets my postcard, they say, Terry's still in business. And that's it. You know, I got my 3 seconds. They saw my face. My marketing is orthodontist school of persuasion. I'm there very gently leaning on you. I'm very gently tugging on your sleeve saying, when you get ready, remember me. And 2 weeks later, I'm still here. How's life? When you get ready, remember me. 20 times a year. Again. Now this is for sale. This is what I sold. But the underlying message is, when you get ready, remember me. And some weeks people call. And when somebody calls, we spend 20 hours doing evaluation. And it's different from typing in the MLS and getting a CMA back. It takes 7 iterations for us to accurately value the building. And then, you know, I hope that we'll do 100 listing presentations this year. And if I'm lucky, we'll get 25 listings out of those 100.
Gotcha. Okay. Let me switch gears up a little bit here. Let me ask you this. So you have 2 full-time active virtual assistants or virtual professionals here with us at MyOutDesk. And you've been a client with us since December of 2015, if I have my information correct. What was happening in your business that made you decide, you know what, I need to start hiring, I need to start adding on people, and then what are they doing for you now? So kind of like walk me through your genesis of starting to when you kind of walk me through the genesis of, you know what, I'm going to build a team, I need to start hiring people. What triggered that, and then what's been your experience with team building overall?
Okay. We're more pressed on time than may be obvious to you, but this is the second team that I built. I built 6 or 7 people about 10 years ago or so, then semi-retired, thought I was rich, thought I was a guru. Time in the marketplace humbled me and got back in the business. And there is a firm here in town that's a national firm that's growing, and they have an invitation-only event for the top 100 by volume. And they invited me a few times, and one of those people had used you and talked about how they used some of your folks for some research and some cold calling. And I thought, all right, that's all right. At that point, I had 45,000 people in my database. A lot of them were duplicates. So most of what we spent money for was to have MyOutDesk go through and keep the usable information and consolidate the duplicates and triplicates, quadruplicates of records. And since then, we have also used them to look for phone numbers and emails and do other kinds of research. We've not yet put them on the phone. I hope that we will be doing that soon. And low-level screening, which would boil down to, Mr. Jenkins, we see that you own 4 properties. Many of our clients have found they could do better. Would you have any interest in talking with somebody who might be able to get you more cash flow and more tax shelter? So that's something we're aspiring to, but we have not yet done. But mostly they've been doing data crunching and research. I'm hoping that we will soon have them doing research on some of the websites. If somebody wants to buy a single tenant, triple net building, we know a few places to look, and we can ask them to do some of that, and they can do that over the internet at different times and hopefully cut our stateside time in half, and we can afford to pay them that if it frees us up here.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's what you have them doing for you now full time?
Right.
Yeah, low level research. Gotcha. How many people do you have on your team total?
I count 8. My wife says that she's not retired, but we have essentially 8 people and 2 coaches.
Gotcha. Okay. And then based upon what your business is at right now, what do you think your team, do you have any projections or vision for what you think your team is going to grow to and how big you'll end up having it in terms of being able to support the business that you have?
I think I have silver hair. I think I'm about through growing it. I'd like to maintain. My wife is retired, and she wishes that I was retired.
Gotcha.
We've just signed a new lease for 7 years, but I'm not going to have 25 people on the team.
Gotcha. Okay.
If we can serve well with what we've got, that will be great. I'd like to render better service to about the same number of clients, or maybe a little bit more, but for bigger dollar transactions.
Okay. I've started a timer here. We'll end in 3 minutes, so that we will wrap it up. Last few rapid fire questions for you then. What would be your advice or insight that you would give to somebody as the most important things to focus on when looking to hire somebody for, say, positions that you hired for, or just for hiring in general? What should people really look for?
I've done it wrong a lot. We've recently started using personality tests to screen, and one of my coaches helped us design the perfect robot for the job that we need. And then we come up with criteria. Since you can't have all of everything, what will you give up? If they maximize this, what's expendable? And so we come up with a criteria. We write the ad based on trying to recruit the people who can do that. Then after some interviewing, we have them take, I call it a personality test, but there's actually 5 different tests. And then we learn a little bit about the features and flaws of each person. And we do more follow-up testing, and we bring them onto the team. And in our arena, if you come onto the team, congratulations, that's good. On the 89th day that you're here, we ask everybody on the team, should we keep you? If one person says no, then you get a generous severance check and we start again. We really need the team that works together. And I've done a terrible job of hiring, but this eliminates enough risk to make it worthwhile. The key thing, Trey, is to figure out, it's Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind.
Right.
Sort with that. Gotcha.
Okay. Very cool. In closing here, Terry, what would you say to somebody who, and I know this is a self-serving question, but what would you, this is the Mod Success Summit, what would you suggest or say to somebody who is taking a look at MyOutDesk or is considering working with MyOutDesk from your experience?
I figured I'd try it, and I might lose a couple of $1,000s if it was a bust, and if it worked, it could be wonderful. And the fact that we've had 2 people full-time for more than a year indicates that we think it's worthwhile. We're actually talking with MyOutDesk about the possibility of adding somebody else to our overseas team.
Gotcha. And the final question for you is, for somebody who, there's always this kind of trade-off or this argument in the head about, do I hire them in-house, stateside, or overseas? Do I have a hybrid blended team? What would you say? What would you say to somebody who thinks that it's not possible to have quality team members that are overseas and thinks they can only be quality team members if they're, in the office with you in person? How would you address that?
God created billions of people that you'll never meet, that speak languages that you'll never master. And not even I'm so presumptuous to think you've got to be close to be successful. Yeah, if you design well, you can figure that somebody overseas will be helpful. And candidly, your dollar here has a huge impact over there. When we were interviewing people, one of the people we were interviewing, we could hear tomorrow's breakfast cackling in the background. These are people who work at home, and I think they have one room with a camera in it that they can talk to us, and their kids may not have shoes. And this is big dollars to them, and to us it's not minimum wage. So MyOutDesk is not perfect. The people are not perfect. Their customers are not perfect. But just in case you care about the broader planet, this is a way to bless other people in other nations and give them choices that they wouldn't have without MyOutDesk.
Awesome. Terry, I really appreciate your time. And so on behalf of MyOutDesk and everything that we're doing here, and on behalf of the community that we're serving with this summit, appreciate your time and thanks for giving back.
Bless you. Enjoy. Take care. Bye-bye.
See ya. Terry, real quickly before you go, that's the end of the recording. Do you need me to do anything to help you with the add-on? Is that going to be an ISA position, or what position are you looking to possibly add on for?
We would like to have, some phone contact. People who are smarter with MyOutDesk than I am have said that 4 hours a day is more than enough, and you shouldn't ask your folks to do more than 4 hours of calling. And we have a market niche that, I don't know how to say this gracefully, it's not cost effective for me to serve, but the ISA could do some screening to say, you're in a wonderful position and it could be better. Are you interested in learning more?
Got it.
And so
that low-level screening that you were talking about before.
Yeah, we've identified thousands of people, and we can probably help 90% of them. And if they're interested, we want to talk to them. If they're not interested, we don't want to bother them. But if we could get 3 people to do screening calls, and we could do 50 transactions instead of 30, that would be swell. But we have systems in place, and doing another 20 transactions, we wouldn't have to double our stateside stuff. We just need to say to other people, we wouldn't say it this way, but we've got a production line, and if you'll let us put your property on the production line, we can get it sold. And we're searching 5 days a week for property for sale, and it's not that much extra trouble to search for you when we're searching for 4 other people.
Got it.
The reports, it's slightly different for each person, but it's not all that complicated to run 4 searches instead of 2 searches.
Sure.
And then when people call in and say, okay, I'm glad that we sold my house and now I'm ready to buy something else, that we have the bandwidth to handle more of that business than we've got now.
Got it. So if I hear you correctly, and I'll get off here in literally less than a minute, I just want to make sure that I provide value back for you in exchange for this time. You already have the list of people you'd want contacted in place. You have the marketing going out and attracting in potential leads, or you're already following up with them from a database you have. You just want somebody with a good caliber phone skills and prospecting skills to a part-time placement to basically call on your behalf 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and just do some of this low-level screening and try to tee up or queue up opportunities for then you or someone on your team to follow up on.
Yeah, and the reality is there's 10,000 people in an underserved market, and I might have 1,000 of those phone numbers, but we could use MyOutDesk to search for the phone numbers of some of these others. If we can't get a phone number, maybe I'll mail to them some, but I have this brilliant idea. I have this half-baked idea that I've been thinking of for 9 years. My business coach, in effect, says, you have too much silver here. You can't afford to do this. It's not worth your time.
Right.
But if you can train somebody else to do it and they can follow in your footsteps, that's fine. But he wants me on the phone. He says this is $3,000 an hour time, and I should be talking to people who pay me $100,000 a year. And the people in this underserved market, they're not going to generate $100,000 a year commission. But I can send flyers, I can send postcards, I can send articles to those folks to say, if you're interested, hold up your hand. And some of them will hold up their hand. And if we call them, a lot more of them will say, yeah, I was thinking about calling you. And they never would, but if we call them,
right,
they will get into the mix.
Okay.
So in answer to your question, if we get another person, it would be low-level calls to people who are not currently served, or we can improve their position. Most of them will say, thank you, no thanks. I'm perfectly happy. I'm content. Don't bother me. Have a nice life. Goodbye. That's done. We won't call them again for 3 years, if ever. But if we get 40 people a year that decide they want to pursue it, that can be worthwhile.
Got it. Okay. I used to run marketing for a hard money lender in Southern California. So we worked a lot with investors and attracting investors and finding investors. And so I got a lot of experience around just attracting investors, running masterminds, running events, getting investors attracted in the future. If you like, feel free to schedule a call with me and maybe pick my brain about the marketing strategies that I use to send out in terms of direct mail and also calling to get investors attracted into us, because that's as you know, that's a very competitive market to be in. It's hard money lending. If you ever wanted to pick my brain, I'm happy to sit down with you and just share with you my playbook for what worked and what didn't work, and you can obviously pick what you like or pick none of it at all.
Well, I would like to talk with you about, not now. What I didn't tell you was my father-in-law died last night, and so this is an interesting time. And in a month, in 6 weeks, I'd love to talk with you. I need more buyers, like I need a second nose. When I was serious when I said there are 100 buyers who've contacted us that I probably will not call.
Right.
Essentially, I'll talk with 100 people this year who say, I got a big wad of cash. I want to buy apartment buildings. I'll screen them. Never mind how many I leave out. There'll be 100 people that we'll send property to. If you told me that you were looking for something, you wanted a $1 to $2 million property in one of these 7 zip codes, here's what's available. We'll send 100 people that information. Less than a third will write offers. Of those that write offers, less than a third will close. So I need extra buyers, like I need a second nose. I don't need 101 potential buyers. I need the 23rd seller.
Right.
I'm prospecting now for people whose sell side is, less than $1 million. And I'm ignoring people who tell me that they want to buy $2 and $3 million properties because, frankly, the odds are against them. But if I can get $1 million listing, I'll sell the $1 million property, and I'll probably help them buy a $2 million property. And if their choice is, I'm going to give $300,000 to the government, or I'm going to buy a property, you know what? They're even more motivated than the guy who says, if you get me the best deal in the galaxy, I'll probably, but maybe not buy it. But if the choice is, I give $300,000 to the government or a close, those guys are motivated. So I'm working on the smaller dollar transaction seller because that will be 2 transactions.
Got it. Okay.
The smaller transaction seller knows where the skeletons are buried. He buried them. The buyer doesn't know what he doesn't know. And I've coached 267 buyers, who's counting, through the process. I can teach them what they don't know, and it's much easier to work with somebody who's got a used building that is ready to trade up.
Got it.
I don't need extra investors. You probably know several other things that would be helpful, but finding extra investors, that's not the problem.
You want the property owners. Yeah.
Sellers.
Okay. All right. How soon do you want me to follow up with you? I mean, next week, or have Shay follow up with you and get 2 or 3 people in front of you to interview and talk to that are qualified to do this, now that I have a very clear understanding of what you're looking for?
Next week would be terrific. One of my team members, Kylie, is going to be heading this up.
Okay.
If she narrows it down to 2 or 3, then I'll probably get involved at that point. But she's got a pretty good idea of what we're looking for. Kylie is the main person who supervises the 2 people in the Philippines.
Got it. Okay. So I will connect with her then to make, I or somebody in my team will connect with her to get the right people in front of her. And it sounds like that'll get kicked up to you once she approves 1 or 2 of the people.
Yeah. And let me ask you a question. Are you Mr. OutDesk? Are you the owner of the company, or are you a consultant? What's your arena? No,
so I've been in the industry for over 10 years, and I was a real estate agent years ago. I am now friends with the owner, but I work for MyOutDesk. I'm their VP of marketing. That's my job title, but I basically do a little bit of everything. And one of my jobs is just to actually connect better with our clients like you, get those stories, and just provide a better level of service. We're doing a lot of work around completely upgrading how we filter in our virtual assistant talent and what we put them through to qualify. So I'm doing a lot of things in the company, but my official title is VP of marketing.
Good.
A title is just a title. I'm here to grow the company, provide a better service to our existing clients, and get more clients. So
good. All right. Well, I do want to talk with you. It might be a month. Whether I deserve it or not, we're actually going to go on vacation for 11 days. And so if you would put on your calendar to initiate a call with me or an email, and then a month from now, let's talk. Let me vacuum your brain, and you got me some wise counsel, and I will appreciate that. Good news, now that I'm retirement age, I'm teachable.
Gotcha.
Now that it's time to retire, I decided to work like a professional, and my business was quadrupled once I decided to work at it instead of just show up and goof off.
Got it. All right. I hear you loud and clear. I'll follow up with you about that in about a month. Enjoy your vacation. Sorry to hear about your loss from yesterday.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen, and yesterday was the day.
Okay. And then myself or somebody will follow up with Kylie next week.
Good for you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.